please remove their hats, please? Thank you very much to the choir. We call upon Ms. Malawana from the St. John's Primary School.
Good day. My name is Asan Diswamalawana. I am from St. John's Primary School in DR, and I'm proud to call myself the head girl of that school. Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, 1996, preamble. We, the people of South Africa, recognize the injustices of our past, honor those who suffered for justice and freedom in our land, respect those who have worked to build and develop our country, and believe that South Africa belongs to all who live in it, united in our diversity. We, therefore, through our freely elected representatives, adopt this constitution as the supreme law of the Republic so as to heal the divisions of the past and establish a society based on democratic values, social justice, and fundamental human rights. Lay the foundations for a democratic and open society in which government is based on the will of the people and every citizen is equally protected by law. Improve the quality of the lives of all citizens and free the potential of each person. Build a united and democratic South Africa able to take its rightful place as a sovereign state in the family of nations. May God protect our people. Nkosi sikeleli Afrika, Murena buluka sichaba sa hesu, God sian South Africa. God bless South Africa. Muzimu fachutetsa Africa. Hosi katekisa Africa. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. We all may be seated now, Premier. But thank you very much. Can we get silence, please? We are here in the Northern Cape, so now I am calling to the stand the Premier of the Northern Cape, Dr. Zamani Sol.
Alala Northern Cape, alala. Alala Northern Cape, alala. Goeiemorgen. No. Dat is nog goeiemorgen. Goeiemorgen mensen van de Noordkaap. Goeiemorgen. Molweni bantu base Northern Cape, molweni. Ons kom nou van de ammunitiedepot. Ons het die president daar gaan. En toe ons nou hier instap, sê die president vir my, Zamani, ek het nie geweet nie, Noordkaap het so mooi mense. En ek sê vir hom, Noordkaapse mense is vir jou nou heel mooi. Ja, die mooi mense van die land so kom Noordkaap toe. So laat ek die geleentheid gebruik om vir die programdirekteur baie dankie te sê vir die geleentheid, die Bulele, die programdirekteur yethu. En laat ek ook onze president groet en vir hom sê dat in de Aar, in Mthanjeni, in Pixley, ons is baie bly om hom hier te kry. Siyabulela into yokubanga upresidente lapha en siyavuya singabantu baseDiara, eMthanjeni, nasePixley Kaseme, naseNorthern Cape ukubanga upresidente lapha. Sino minister babini abalapho onze 2 ministers wat deel is van die program en ek is seker julle kan hulle sien. Is 2 aantreklike jong mense. Dis minister van Sports en Kultuur en die minister van Justitie. Hulle is hier saam met ons, kan ons vir hulle lekker hande klap gee. Die president stel aan aantreklike ministers. Julle kan sien die mense is nou uitgevreed, man, dis mooi mense. Wat hulle se werk kan doen. Is dat nie so nie? Ja, as mense wat hulle se werk kan doen, man. Dis hoe ons moet werk, man. Laat ek ook ons LER's groet. Ek sien almal ons LER's van die Noord-Kaap is hier, onze burgemeesters, speakers Omeya kunye ne-speaker zethu, and the leadership of the Human Rights Commission. Ons het hier saam met ons, Chris Nissan is ook baie welkom hier in onze provincie. Ons het paar ministers en adjunct ministers wat ook deel is van die aangeleentheid vandag. En soos ons die president groet en verwelkom in onze provincie, sê ons in die Noord-Kaap, daar was nie 'n sluit af hier in die provincie nie. There was no shutdown in the Northern Cape. And the reason why there was no shutdown in this province is because the people of the Northern Cape don't believe in politics of brinkmanship. Ons is ernstige mense hier in die Noord-Kaap. Ons glo nie aan so goede nie. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is with a great sense of pride that I stand here today in the company of esteemed government leaders on a day that we commemorate as the National Human Rights Day. I'm honored and humbled to have the privilege to welcome each and everyone gathered here today in the Aar, in Pixlika-Seme district, a district named after one of the founders of the African National Congress, Pixlika Isaka-Seme. I'm especially pleased to welcome in our midst the President of the Republic of South Africa, His Excellency, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa, and the entire delegation to the warm, wonderful, and blissfully beautiful Northern Cape province. Ons het die mooiste provincie in die land. En die president weet dit. I welcome you to a province and a region rich in history, culture, heritage, and tradition as we commemorate Human Rights Month under the theme, Consolidating and Sustaining Human Rights Culture into the Future. Today is both a celebration of what our nation has accomplished thus far and a painful remembrance of those who sacrificed their lives so that we could enjoy our freedom today. This day has been chosen specifically for South Africans to serve as a reminder of our country's transformation from an apartheid state to a constitutional democracy founded on the principles of non-racialism, non-sexism, human dignity, and the realization of equality. Dames en heren, baie van ons groot mense wat hier teenwoordig is, kan met hartseer onthou hoe vernederend dit was om 'n dompas te dra wat jy oral moes wees. Ons vryheid tot beweging en assosiasie was ten sterke ingeperk. Ons hele geskiedenis was vervat in hierdie dompas. Om soos derde klas burgers behandel te word, het mense genoodsaak om in toestand van hierdie dompas stelsel te kom. Die gevolg was dat hierdie mense wat elke held en vryheidsvegter in hulle eie reg is, opgerig het na die polisiekantoor in Sharpeville om hulle teenstand teen die dra sowel as die bestaan van dompas te wees. Wat hierna gevolg het, sal altyd 'n klad op onze geskiedenis wees. Dit is 'n gebeurtenis waarvoor die vorige regering vir altyd hul koppe in skamte moet sak. Op daardie dag het 69 mense, vaders, moeders en kinders wat vreedsaam protesteer het, hul lewens in 'n oogwink verloor. Nooit, maar nooit sal ons dit kan vergeet nie. Ladies and gentlemen, and esteemed guests, I want to conclude by wishing you all a very good day in the company of the friendly people of the Northern Cape. Let us continue to work together to promote, protect, and ensure the human rights and dignity of all South Africans. Met die paar woorde baie dankie en ek glo dat u sal mooi luister aan die boodskap wat die president vir ons bring. Is dit nie so nie? Ek sien die saal is lekker vol. Kan ons vir onsself 'n lekker hande klap gee? Dat is nou nie Noordkap hande klap nie. Ja. Noordkap hande klap kom met geraas. Dat kom met groot geraas. Baie dankie vir die tyd.
Thank you very much, Premier. Kan ons vir die premier 'n Noordkap se hande klap gee? So, President, that's a Northern Cape applause. So now we are going over to the messages of support. First, we are calling on the Commissioner Chris Nissen from the South African Human Rights Commission. Can we, Reverend, sorry, can we give him a Noordklap se hande klap?
Thank you, Program Director. Mr. President, Premier of the Northern Cape, Ministers Lamola and Zizi, as I know him. And all the ministers and deputy ministers are here. I'll be very short. I represent the chairperson, Professor Majola, and all the other commissioners of the South African Human Rights Commission. Our mandate is a threefold mandate. It is to promote, protect, and monitor human rights in the Republic of South Africa. But as Answa was reading also on the preamble of the Constitution of Healing Our Nation, the South African human rights under the leadership of the Deputy Chair, Chawan, we've decided on a program of starting community dialogues across cultural, religious, and linguistic, so that we can implement the healing of our nation. The second one is that we have, and Premier Sol is correct, that we've engaged all the executives of the 9 provinces in order for us to get to the heart of service delivery and keep in touch with the executives. And that process is led by Commissioner Ntuli. Sadly to say that we still have a lot of socio-economic rights, in other words, the issues around water, sanitation, electricity, and etc. And therefore, it's very important, President, that as the holder of the Constitution, you have become the chief human rights defender. And therefore, as the chief human rights defender, it is your task also to ensure that nobody is left behind. Not the elderly, the sick, the lonely, the children, the LGBTI community. Nobody must be left behind in this country. And so we command you as the chief human rights defender in this country to ensure that the rights of our people are realized. But we also do not have rights. We also have responsibilities. With your rights come responsibilities. So when the South African police, and we thank the women and men in blue, when they combat and prevent crime, they can do it with your help. But as long as vandals, thieves and others vandalize our infrastructure, as long as people still buy stolen goods, you have then failed to serve and help the South African Police Service to combat crime and to prevent crime and to protect you. With your rights come responsibility. These rights did not fall from the sky, and therefore we thank women and men that contributed with their lives and sweat and blood to bring us where we are. They also want us to exercise our rights, but also to be responsible. Rights without responsibility is meaningless. Thank you, Chair.
Can we give the Reverend another hand of applause? Soos ons almal gehoor het, regte het ook verantwoordelikhede. So, ons het nie net regte nie, jy moet weet, gepaardgaande met die regte is daar verantwoordelikhede. So ons roep na vore, our Minister of Justice, Minister Lamula. Can we give him a hand of applause, please?
Now, thank you very much and good afternoon. The President of the Republic of South Africa, my colleague Minister Zizi Kodwa, the Premier of the Northern Cape, and all deputy ministers present here, dignitaries and everyone who is here. The month of March is appropriately coined as a Human Rights Month, and this is to afford us an opportunity to reflect on the strides we are making towards the promotion, protection, and the realization of human rights. It is in this regard that our collective efforts made since our democratic breakthrough in healing the divisions of the past have been aimed towards attainment of a democratic state guided by the values of human rights and human dignity, the achievement of equality, and the advancement of human rights and freedoms, and non-racial and non-sexist, and the supremacy of our Constitution. In the 25 years since our democracy and since the Constitution was adopted, we know what works and what does not work. We have also learned from our mistakes in our pursuit for an equal society and we will then draw from our experiences in the past. No minority party can impose its will on the people. You constitute government by a majority vote and not bullying or intimidation. The state has a duty to protect all its citizens and to enforce the law. The rule of law is a cornerstone of our democracy. One distinguishing feature of our Constitution from others is that ours was crafted with the ultimate goal of advancing socio-economic rights. With the inequalities born of years of oppression, it was necessary that our Constitution is drafted for South Africa to respond to the realities faced by our people, impose obligations and the establishment of structural imperatives which sought to ameliorate the legacy of apartheid and to create an equal society. So the future of constitutionalism in our country is a future of equal society. Thank you very much.
Can we give the Minister of Justice and Correctional Service another hand of applause? Now we are going over to a cultural item. Can we get Mia to the stage? A hand of applause, please.
Hello guys, Minjani. Okay, so can I teach you guys something? So when I say love, you say love, love, right? So firstly, just gonna do this. When I say love, go slow, go slow. When I say love, you say love, love. Love. When I say love, you say love, love. Love. When I say love, you say love, love. Love. Okay. When I say love, you say love, love. Let me hear you louder. Love. When I say love, you say love, love. Come on, love. Come on, sing it louder for me, love, love, love. Come on, love. Come on, sing it louder for me, love. Sing it louder for me, love. Come on, sing it louder for me, love. I can hear you sing it, love. Yeah, that's beautiful, guys. Josh, you can start the song. That's all I seem to know. Trying to understand the way you view things. Trying to find the things you're interested in. Love is something that's in your own perception. Once you fall in love, it's not words now, it's actions. Falling in love, it's not easy. 'Cause baby, what is love? Oh, love. When I say love, you say, yeah, falling in love. Hey, it's not easy, 'cause baby, what is love? Love. When I say love, you say, hey, I don't know what love is. Hey, hey. But it's explosive intoxication when they can't do nothing wrong. It's just deep adoration, trying to understand the way you view things, trying to find the things you're interested in. Love is something that's in your own perception. Once you fall in love, falling in love is not easy, 'cause baby, what is love? Love, love, love. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much.
Ons sê baie dankie vir Mia. Kom ons gee vir haar die laaste handeklap. Now I'm going to give over to the Minister of Sport, Arts and Culture, Minister Zizi Gwotwa. I'm give over to you.
Thank you very much, my co-program director. Alala Northern Cape, alala! Alala Mtanchen, alala! Ala Hanover, ala Colesberg, ala. Amanda. Thank you very much, Mr. President. That is the energy we want in Northern Cape. Mr. President, ministers, premier, the MECs, the executive mayor and councillors, the deputy ministers. Mr. President, welcome to the center of your country, South Africa. When you are here, you are 7 hours to Western Cape. You are less than 7 hours to your Eastern Cape. You are 7 hours to the north. You are less than 7 hours to Durban, Mr. President. This is the center of your country. Give yourselves a big round of applause. Mr. President, these are the small towns which were neglected by the past. They never thought there are people who sit in this and sleep in these areas. There was no infrastructure for school. There was no infrastructure for water, as you can see, Mr. President, because the past never recognized the klein dorpies, these small towns, and yet you can see these lovely, happy people you see in front of you. Mr. President, it is my honor to invite you. I invite you, Mr. President. Amanda!
Amanda. Let's be seated, please. Dumela. Molweni. Goeiemiddag. Program Director, Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture, Minister Zizi Kotwa, and MEC for Arts, Culture, Sports and Recreation, Ms. Desiree Finnis, Minister of Justice, Minister Lamula, Minister of the Civil Service, Minister Kivit, Deputy Ministers, the Premier of the Northern Cape, Dr. Zamani Saul, the Chairperson of the South African Human Rights Commission, Professor Majola, Reverend Chris Nissen, the Mayor of Pixley, Kaisa Kaseme District, and the Mayor of Mtanjeni, as well as community leaders who are here with us. Namhlanje kusuku olubaluleke kakhulu apha eMzantsi Afrika. Dit is 'n baie belangrike dag waarop ons die groot vordering vier wat ons as 'n nasie gemaak het en die bou van 'n demokratiese wat gegrond is op gelyke menseregte vir alle mense. It is quite an important day for all of us because it is a day on which we celebrate the great progress that we have made as a people and as a nation in building a democracy that is founded on equal human rights for all. But it is in building the democracy that we have that we should be proud of. Even though others would want to diminish this democracy, even though others would want to abuse the rights of others, intimidate them, compel them to participate in protests, compel them to participate in days where they should not go to work, I am happy that the majority of South Africans did not heed the call, but they exercised their rights as South Africans. It is a day on which we remember and pay tribute to the many people who fought for these rights and for the great sacrifices that they made. Many of our forebears fought for the rights that we have enshrined in our Constitution. This is also a day on which we look to the future. Asipheleli apha kuphela, sijonga phambili ukuthi kusasa lethu luzoba lunjani na. And we reaffirm our pledge not only to safeguard and uphold these rights at all times, but to strive to ensure that all people may exercise these rights to their fullest. As you have said, Reverend Nissen, we should exercise these rights and leave no one behind. Kungabi noyedwa ozosala emva. Sisonke siqhubeke siye phambili. Singashiyi umuntu emva. This is a significant year for the celebration of Human Rights Day. This year is the 100th anniversary of the adoption of the first Bill of Rights in South Africa's history. In 1923, the African National Congress adopted a Bill of Rights that demonstrated the aspirations of black South Africans for equal rights in the land of their birth. This was an act of remarkable vision at a time when the majority of South Africans were by law denied the rights that we now have today. The adoption of the Bill of Rights, which had no legal standing at the time, took place just a decade after the Native Land Act had resulted in the mass dispossession of Africans of their land. It took 13 years after the Union of South Africa confirmed that black South Africans would have no say in the running of their country. Today, as we mark Human Rights Day, we pay tribute to those men and women who had the vision and the foresight to proclaim that all people in this country have inalienable human rights. Batsho bathi sisonke sinawo amalungelo. Batsho bathi wonke umuntu walapha eSouth Africa unamalungelo. All of us have basic human rights. Siyababulela abo einkokheli zethu ezayenza sure ukuthi ngo-1923 kube ne Bill of Human Rights, Bill of Rights. They had vision, they were able to look forward and to say that this country requires a Bill of Rights. The theme of Human Rights Day this year is consolidating and sustaining human rights culture into the future. And I would say, leaving no one behind. As we look to the future, let us reflect on the past. As we learn the lessons of the past, let us work together to confront its devastating legacy. One of the defining features of the Bill of Rights contained in our Constitution is the inclusion of social and economic rights, precisely the issues that Reverend Chris Nissen was referring to. In addition to the right to life, equality, and human dignity, our Constitution also says that everyone has the right to housing, to health care, to food, to water, to social security, and to education. That is inscribed in our Constitution. And by the way, so that you can remember, when we drafted the Constitution, we went throughout the entire country and consulted you, our people. In the end, it was the people of South Africa who said, we want a constitution, the supreme law of the land must talk about these very needs that we have. It must talk about education. It must talk about housing. It must talk about health care. It was you who required that your constitution must include socio-economic rights. And today, we have such a constitution. Why do we have it? We have such a constitution so that the government of the day must always remember that in whatever it does, it must put the needs of the people of South Africa topmost in their minds. The Constitution says the state must take reasonable measures within its available resources to achieve the progressive realization of each of these rights. So it is therefore about the state, the government, always taking steps to make sure that these rights are realized. Premier Zamani Saul, sitting next to me here, last year when I was here, he said to me, President, we need almost 80,000 houses here in the Northern Cape. We need to build many schools here in the Northern Cape. And he said, if we go on the basis of what the national government treasury allocates to us, it will easily take us 100 years before we have all these things that the people of Northern Cape need. And then he and I started talking about ways in which we could find funding methods to ensure that, yes, there are more clinics built, there are more houses built, and so forth. So we've been in discussion with Treasury to say, how best can this be done? And he's just reported to me that those discussions are about to reach good conclusion so that we can fund the building of houses, we can fund the building of clinics. And yes, he even told me that Sandral, the one that repairs and installs our roads, because the roads here in the Northern Cape are being damaged by the mining trucks on an ongoing basis. Sandral has agreed that it is going to invest in the building of our roads, and it's going to invest billions of rands, starting now going forward, to repair the roads of our province here. So progress then is being made from the idea of ensuring that what is set out in our Bill of Rights, houses, health, clinics, and even repairing our roads, will now be done through the various ways of funding that we spoke about last year. This, as the Constitution says, must be realized on an ongoing basis. The Bill of Rights also guarantees the right to property and says the state must work to ensure that citizens have equitable access to land. This property clause makes provision for land reform, for land restitution, and security of tenure to redress the results of past racial discrimination. This clause would no doubt be welcomed by people who drafted the 1923 Bill of Rights, who declared that all Africans have, as the sons of this soil, the God-given right to unrestricted ownership of the land, in this, the land of their birth. Since the advent of democracy, since 1994, successive administrations have done much to ensure that there is progressive realization of these rights for all South Africans. The expanding provision of basic services to households has been one of the most important interventions to improve the lives of all South Africans. According to Stats SA, access to water and sanitation, electricity, housing, and other services like waste removal has increased steadily over the last 3 decades. We must remember that we used to live in a country where only white people had the best of everything, where they had the best houses, where they had the best schools, where they had the best clinics, the best hospitals. Now the democratic government has had to include everyone. It has had to ensure that all our people enjoy the rights that are set out in our Constitution. And today, the administration, the 6th administration and previous administrations keep on making efforts to make sure that, yes, our people get basic services, and we will admit that because the task is huge, much bigger than what the apartheid government had, and it costs much more money than what the apartheid government had to do to care for a minority of white people. Our government, the various administrations since Utatu Nelson Mandela, have been making efforts to ensure that our people do get the rights. Around 2 million households, indigent households, today receive free basic water, free basic electricity, and free solid waste removal. Treasury spends up to 70 billion rand caring for those households that do not have the means to have or enjoy these rights. Yet, despite this progress, there are, we must admit, still many people who do not have access to all these services. Many people live in informal settlements without adequate housing, without water, without sanitation. Last year, towards the end of the year, Premier Zamani Sol and myself were talking about precisely this. And he was saying here in the Northern Cape, they see many informal settlements just being established all over. And it is because our people are poor, they are unemployed, they don't have houses, and they have many needs. And these are the needs that our government is determined to address, as Reverend Chris Nissen was saying. Reverend Chris Nissen was saying, you as government, you have the responsibility to make sure that our people do enjoy the basic human rights that are set out in the Constitution. And he is right. The government will never run away from its responsibility. And we will make sure that, yes, we realize the aspirations of our people. And that is why Premier Zamani Sol continues to talk to Treasury, continues to say, my people in the Northern Cape have many needs. And that is why many other premiers in our country continue to find ways of addressing the needs of our people. That is why the ministers we have continue to do that as well. And that is why my task as president is to make sure that we address the needs of our people within the means that we have. So this is a task we are not going to run away from. This is a task that, yes, God has given us. This is a task that you, our people, have given us, and we will address the needs that you have as a people. We know very well that in some of our municipalities, the provision of these services that I'm talking about, the provision of the services is unreliable. There are times when water is not provided or is of a poor quality, or where refuse and waste is not collected. The failure to provide adequate services consistently is a human rights issue. That is why we are working to improve the functioning of local government, which carries the greatest responsibility for the provision of these services. Through changes to legislation and support programs, we are working to improve the capacity of public representatives and officials and direct more resources towards maintaining and upgrading local infrastructure. That is why we are working very hard to make sure that our municipalities work. We know that some municipalities don't work as well as they should. We also know that some municipalities, some of those that should be doing the work are stealing the money that should be going to serve you. We know, ons weet, dat 'n paar van die mense wat in die munisipaliteit werk, is baie lui, hulle werk nie hard nie, ons weet dit. Siyakwazi konke lokho. That is why sithi singuhulumeni omasipala ababethu sizawuyenza zonke indlela ukuthi sibalungise. Ndihlala ndithi abo abayeba imali bazawubotshwa. Those who steal money, we will make sure that they get arrested. And abangazimiselanga, those who are not prepared to work and serve the people, they must go. Mabamke. Baphume ngomnyango okanye baphume ngefestere. Want ons wil hê dat al onze mensen, all our people must be well served. Because you know, today is Human Rights Day. Just these services. And I do want everyone who works to serve our people must know that when we don't do our work, we are violating the human rights of our people. If you don't serve our people well, whether it's in a clinic, whether it's in a hospital, whether it's in a municipality, if you don't serve our people well, you are violating their human rights. And if you don't serve them with a measure of joy, if you don't serve them with a measure of dignity and respect, you are violating their human rights. Now, yesterday I was with a friend of mine. This friend of mine tells me I'd gone to see him because he was in hospital. So he came out of hospital and he said he had one of the most horrible experiences in hospital. And I said, what was that? He said he was having great difficulty himself and needed help. And there was a nurse who said, I'm not going to spend my time helping you. Now, he's the same age as myself. And he says he was so weak, he needed so much help, that he had to scream and shout for another nurse to come and help him. And later he told his doctor that when he needed help, this nurse would not serve him. And they've now started disciplinary proceedings against this nurse who refused to serve. Now, I basically said to him, tomorrow I am going to DR. It's a Human Rights Day, and I think that nurse was violating your human rights by not serving you, because her job is to serve you, to make sure that you return to a state of health. So that is why I am saying all of us who are in the state sector, all of us who work for government, who are leaders in government, our job is to serve the people of South Africa. That is our job. By signing up to say we will work in government, we are signing up to advance the rights of South Africans. And so therefore, all civil servants, all of us who are in the state sector, I call upon you, and I'm glad that Minister Kivit is here, I call upon you all to make sure that we serve the people of South Africa to the best of our ability and not violate their human rights. We must serve them with dignity, with respect, and with love. The young lady there was singing about love, love, love. And yes, we must show our people the love that we have in our hearts to serve them. Government recently introduced what we call the green drop and the blue drop reports, which has to deal with provision of water. And this also is about improving our ability to give good services to our people. Now, in terms of these reports, we are now going to be making better interventions in regard to the services, particularly underwater, that we have to make to our people. There are also a number of water infrastructure projects underway to improve the security of supply of water to key areas across the country, including here in the Northern Cape. Another significant intervention against poverty is the provision of social grants, which are the main source of income for about a quarter of our households here in South Africa. Just over 2.5 million people are receiving social grants, were receiving social grants in 1999. Reverend Nissan, you will be pleased to know that whilst in 1999 there were only 2.5 million people, today over 18 million people are now receiving these grants, which means that we are respecting the rights of South Africans. Now, to relieve the pressure on poor households during COVID-19, government also introduced a new special grant, which is the 350 special grant. And while this grant is a small grant, but it has been extended to the end of March 2024. Now, work is underway to provide a basic income support for the most vulnerable within the country's fiscal constraint. Now, already almost 30 million South Africans are in receipt of one grant or another. And I can promise you, we are the only country on the African continent that has made sure that we advance the rights of South Africans. No other country that I know of on the African continent does what we do here in South Africa for our people. The Bill of Rights says that everyone has the right to a basic education and to a further education, which the state must make progressively available and accessible. Over the last 3 decades, important progress has been made to access education. Remember, in our Constitution, the right to education is enshrined. And we also said we must, on a progressive basis, on a year-to-year basis, as we have more money, as we have more capability, we must be extending this right. Now, to ensure every child gets a solid foundation for social and educational development, government has prioritized early childhood development. The Department of Basic Education, which is now responsible for ECD, is streamlining the requirement for ECD centers to access support and enable thousands more to receive subsidies from government. We have 7 million children who should be in early childhood development centers. Thus far, we only have 1.5 million in these centers. Now, every year we are going to make sure that we give more and more support to the other children who should be in early childhood development centers. So we are going to be raising this every year. South Africa has a significantly high level of enrollment in basic education. In 2019, 96% of 6-year-old children attended an education institution. However, the dropout rate from school is still quite high. So we need to make sure that once children start school, they must finish their 12 years of schooling. So we want to address this problem. And last year, we saw with the matric results that yes, there is improvement, but I want to see more improvement here in the Northern Cape with your matric results. And the Premier is already starting a program that is going to lead us in that direction. I think we should applaud him and encourage him and his MECs to make sure that indeed the education here in the Northern Cape does improve indeed. Now, as we move forward, this is a problem that we've got to pay attention to and make sure that everybody in the school leadership, educators and parents need to work together to address this problem. An important intervention to improve school attendance and alleviate poverty was the introduction of a no-fee school in poor communities. We have seen the results of our investment in education in the steady improvement of the overall matric pass rate. And as I said, I'd like to see much better outcomes in our pass rates here in the Northern Cape, as we are seeing in other provinces as well. This year, or last year, we saw a pass rate that was 80%. We need to see much more here in this province as well, as I said. Learners from no-fee schools are steadily performing better in matric, achieving a greater number of bachelor passes. As part of a commitment to expand access to higher education for students from poor and working class backgrounds, the number of students that is funded by NSFAS increased from 580 in 2018 to almost 800,000 in 2022. So this is a big improvement. Now, despite this, as we saw in the last few weeks, many students are still experiencing difficulties in funding their studies, in accommodation, in their living expenses. This year, government plans to finalize comprehensive student funding model for higher education. Among other things, this aims to reach those who don't meet the NSFAS criteria but are still unable to afford tertiary education. The Bill of Rights says that everyone has the right to have access to healthcare services, including reproductive health care. Since the advent of democracy, starting with the provision of free health care to children under 5 years of age and pregnant women, government has made substantial progress in the provision of quality health care, especially to the poor. However, we must say that there is still significant inequality in access to health care. The National Health Insurance Bill, which is currently before Parliament, is meant to correct this state of affairs. The introduction of the NHI will enable every South African to receive quality health care, regardless of their ability to pay. Now, there are many who say that the NHI is going to destroy our health care. Right now, many of our people are living under a health system that is destroyed, where they do not have access to quality health care right now. The National Health Care Insurance is meant to correct that, because as our Bill of Rights says, and as Reverend Nissen says, leave no one behind. We must be able to treat our people equally so that we can all enjoy the same level of health care. We are preparing for the implementation of the NHI through the National Quality Improvement Plan and putting in place the necessary staff as well as funding. We are improving the quality of care in our clinics through the Ideal Clinic program, using the experience of COVID-19, particularly the vaccination record system. We will introduce an electronic solution to improve the management of health records. If we are to advance and secure these social and economic rights into the future, then we need to tackle poverty and inequality. We need to create employment and economic opportunity. To achieve this, to give us the means to enable progressive realization of all these rights, we need to grow our economy and achieve far greater levels of investment. The work that is being undertaken to increase investment in both economic and social infrastructure is a vital part of the effort to improve the provision of services to all. This includes investments in roads. As you heard, Sandral is going to invest in our roads here in the Northern Cape. As you have always heard me, this includes the building of the rural bridges. And this year we are going to build almost 100 rural bridges. This includes building new human settlements, houses. This includes water schemes. And this also includes expanding our electricity network. By the same measure, the work that we are doing to improve the efficacy and competitiveness of our telecommunications industry, electricity system, and ports and railways will contribute to increasing investment and employment. I've often said that the work that we are doing, particularly in what we call network industries, in creating a climate for good investments, we can see it here clearly in the Northern Cape. The Northern Cape has already attracted investments of up to 100 billion rand in renewable energy systems. You have to travel in the Northern Cape. You will see these towers of wind. You will see these solar panels. You will see a great deal of investment that is happening here. We are now going to see the emergence of another sector, hydrogen power, that is also going to be generated here in the Northern Cape. So we do this because we want to improve investment and increase the level of employment here in the Northern Cape. Now, the province's mining industry also continues to grow. While there are new opportunities opening up, as I've said, in energy, we welcome the province's effort to ensure that these projects create further work opportunities by investing in industrial parks and special economic zones. Government has introduced a program like the Presidential Employment Stimulus to create public and social employment opportunities for young people in particular. This is happening alongside projects with the private sector to provide work experience for young people and also to fund small and medium enterprises. The Bill of Rights guarantees the rights of all people to life, to human dignity, to freedom, to security, and to the right of movement as well. The high levels of violent crime, including crime against women and children, are a direct and brutal violation of these fundamental rights. Society has come together in different ways to respond to violent crime. Communities have been working with the police through the community policing forums. Civil society organizations are working with government to implement the National Strategic Plan on Gender-Based Violence and Femicides. Business is working with law enforcement agencies and state-owned enterprises to tackle the damage to economic infrastructure. As we increase the presence and the visibility of police, as we strengthen the National Prosecuting Authority and improve the operation of our courts, we need to mobilize everyone in society as part of a national effort to end violent crime. These are amongst the most important issues that we need to attend to as a nation if we are to sustain our human rights and also have a human rights culture going into the future. We cannot claim to be a country that respects human rights if we do not do everything in our power and within our resources to ensure that all South Africans have access to land, to housing, to food, to water, to healthcare, and to education. As a nation, we cannot claim to respect human rights if we do not do everything we can to ensure that all people have access to work, economic opportunity, and to live lives that are comfortable, that are safe and secure. There can be no doubt that we have achieved much in securing the rights of all South Africans, but we know from daily experience that we still need to do much more. On this Human Rights Day, I would like us to affirm our determination to make sure that, yes, we do realize these rights for all South Africans, so that no one is left behind. In doing so, we will give effect to the promise of our democratic constitution, and we will be paying the greatest tribute to the visionary leaders like Nelson Mandela, like Umama Albertina Sisulu, Helen Joseph, Sol Plaatje, who were the first to advocate for the respect of a Bill of Rights in our country. So, this being such an important day in the annual calendar of our country, I am really pleased that we are celebrating this day here in the center of the country, because you, DR, you are the center of South Africa. It is in this center, and many people don't know this, and I think of many people, Minister Zizi Kodwa knows it, because as I arrived, he was saying to me, President, you are at the center of the country. I said, Zizi Kodwa, I've always known it, that DR is the center of the country. So it is a joy and a real pleasure that today, Human Rights Day, is here in DR, and I wish every South African a happy Human Rights Day, and I wish you all here a happy Human Rights Day here in DR, and thank you very much for being here.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Somebody from the crowd, Mr. President, says, we love you, Mr. President. President, before you, these are artists These are artists locally coming from here. They would really love to meet and greet with the president. These are important people in the arts and culture, Mr. President. I'm happy that we have agreed to meet with arts and culture from this industry, particularly here locally. But, Mr. President, I must say that to host such an event in an area called DR is in itself a local economic activity. A lot of business around this event comes from here. We make sure that nothing, if any, is imported from any other province except here, unless they don't have it. So these events, as they go around, Mr. President, must, among others, build local economic activities in an area where it is hosted. Where is a group that will perform for you, Mr. President? There's a group that wants to perform one song for you, a rendition, before you leave, Mr. President. Yes, please. By all means, get on stage. We want the president just to see note captains before he leaves and moves.
dan nou loop daar door die raad. My kerkmaatjie sê mou, dis beter om so te bly as om met 'n getroude vrou te vry. Askoek! Trap hom aan, trap hom! Dis die askoek en die platwiel. Askoek en die platwiel, dis wat ons skoene so verdien. Askoek! 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 Dis die askoek en die platwiel. Askoek en die platwiel, dis wat ons skoene so verdien. Askoek! 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 Ons draai ons swaai tot 'n mosselbaai, tot die stof in die pere draai. Askoek! Dis die askoek en die platwiel. Askoek en die platwiel, dis wat ons skoene so verdien. Dis wat ons skoene so verdien. Dis die ridder op die witperd. Ridder op die witperd, wat maak by die lewe die moeite werd.
A big round of applause to the real dancers, the real dancers. Thank you very much. From real dancers, Mr. President. That was to say thank you, Mr. President. Beautiful Northern Cape dance. Whilst the Amapiano are setting up on stage, we'll invite the mayor to give us a vote of thanks.
Hey. Okay. Eita, Matamela, Eita. Thank you, Matamela, thank you. Kan ons asseblief net die president 'n lekker Noord-Kaapse hande klap gee? Baie dankie, mense van die 6+. Yeah, and all the people from Pixley, and in particular DR. Let us start, Mr. President, to say to you, thank you very much for being here and taking the R. And yes, good enough, this is correct, the R is the center, but you also know it because of your history. So we want to really say to you, thank you very much for that unionism of yours, that you're still alive. So, then of course the ministers as well, who's the program director, both the MEC Finis. Can we give them a round of applause, please? And Finis represented you very well, Zamani. But of course we must also outline Zizi, because Lamula was struggling with Afrikaans, and at least Zizi was saying, klein dorpies. So can we give good enough, man, a nice round of applause? Yeah. Can we also thank all of the ministers who are here, deputy ministers, and all the MECs of the provincial cabinet, and of course the artists who are here, and the lovely Aar Primary School was also here giving us that rendition. But can we just see that the young people of Aar are in safe hands? So as this collective, can we give them really a round of applause? I would also like to acknowledge as a student of internationalism, Mr. President, the ambassador of Indonesia is here around. Can you please rise for us? Thank you. I'm sure after today you will know what is klein dorpies, and you will come back to klein dorpies again. Thank you very much for being here. I've also been asked by the program director just to indicate that please, Anna Swanepoel, your ID is up here, so can you please just come and fetch it when you are ready. But most of all, the government officials and all the organizers of this, who have done this beautiful arrangement for us here. Can we please give them a nice round of applause? And of course, the men of blue in this district, who is led by General Aduanas, for keeping us safe and of course feeling safe as well. So the men in blue and women, very much thank you to you. Another round of applause for them. And with that, my story is a flight. Baie dankie.
At this stage, Mr. President, you can take leave. We will ask Amapiano to take you out. Ladies and gentlemen, can we rise as the President takes leave?